Evil Genius is one of those games from my younger years that holds a special place. No, not that Facebook abomination. Or was it a pay-to-win app? I'm not sure if even the devs know. I think it was technically both, but I digress. The Evil Genius game I was previously referring to as holding a special place for me is none other than the 2004 supervillain simulator, Evil Genius, in which you take on the role of a power-crazed supervillain, or evil genius if you prefer, who's hell-bent on bringing the world to its knees, an objective that is explored and defined by a number of different activities that the player partakes in and are made possible by the game, such as building a lair, get minions to run your lair, get minions to defend your lair, steal things, get things stolen from you, acts of infamy, steal the ancient knowledge of cleaning right out of maids, have tourists mindlessly run around your lair, more acts of infamy, steal more things, get dumpstered by super agents, and much, much, much more. So, why? Well, I'll tell you why. Besides the fact I hold fond memories of the game and consider it an underrated title that never got its moment in the spotlight, I also recently got a hankering for it as the game's sequel is no longer vaporware and is actually getting info slowly dripped about it by the devs. A real sequel seemed like it never really happened until it did. So I thought, why not? Why not make an Evil Genius video in anticipation of the upcoming 2020 continuation? So anyway, here's some stuff about the game. The beginning of your villainous exploits has you choosing from 3 different figureheads who will be representing your organization, and to some extent representing you yourself, the player. Each of the 3 choices will grant you a different gameplay modifying perk, though these perks are relatively negligible in the long run, so it's really more about which of the evil geniuses you personally vibe or connect with. Feel like role-playing as a stereotypical Bond villain? Maximilian it is for you then. Feminine fatale type of mood? How about Alexis? Enjoy Big Trouble in Little China and Miss R.I.P. Shen Yun's in for some serious trouble and you're in for some serious fun. Once you've decided upon who you stan, you'll find yourself en route to the future home of your evil empire, which currently only holds an undisturbed body of rock that is ripe for terraforming, as well as the humble starting shack that your organization will spring forth from. You start the game with a handful of minions joining you on the island. Basic grunt units will form the foundation of the overall crime syndicate structure. They build, they steal, they plot, they fill many different roles, just none of them particularly well. More specialized units are unlocked as the game goes on, so don't worry too much if the minions are handling certain situations with less skill than you'd desire. A considerable element in making up for your initial manpower issues comes in the form of what the game labels henchmen, specifically the one your Mastermind starts with. Henchmen are unique, player-controlled characters that far outmatch any other units at your disposal. They are powerful, sturdy, and come with their own set of special abilities that they can learn through experience. Your starting henchman is determined by which evil genius was chosen at the onset of the game. Maximilian keeps the master sushi chef and swordsman Jubei in his employ, a melee-centric henchman whose abilities include teleportation and honed single strikes capable of doling out large amounts of damage to targeted enemy units. Alexis and her henchmen of choice bring a different approach to combat. Eli Barracuda likes to keep his enemies at a distance, employing a large silver magnum to mow down said opposition with. A man plucked right out of the 60s, Eli can employ the power of funk to capture enemy agents in a trance. Or he can also conversely choose to blow off their dome with his deadly super headshot ability. Lastly comes Shen Yu's henchman, arguably the worst of the starting henchmen. Trash. Lord Kane, an avid manipulator and notorious criminal mastermind. The trash talk may actually have been a little uncalled for, I apologize. As though Kane is not the best in combat, he does possess the best overall world map capabilities out of any of the 3 starting henchmen, his plotting skill being of biggest note. When he isn't away on mission and must enter into an altercation, Kane prefers the use of psychological tactics, which through his special abilities can send groups of justice agents into either panicked frenzies or simply states of confusion that leave them questioning why they even came to the island in the first place. The latter of the 2 skills is especially helpful down the line when it comes to super agents. Also, his backstory is neat. More henchmen are made available to you as the game goes on, each of them with their own strengths, drawbacks, abilities, and backstory. The matron tends to be a crowd pleaser. Check her out. Once you got a handle on your underlings and understand their purpose, you can begin to put them to work, utilizing your starting cash reserves, which are surprisingly low considering your evil genius's circumstances. You can begin to carve out the beginnings of a layer onto the island's rocky features. This initial construction will kickstart the growth of your operations, allowing for more minions to be brought on and a foothold to be established. One of the first rooms you'll want built in your subterranean labyrinth is the control room, as it unlocks one of the primary levels of play in the game, the World Domination screen, which in turn paves the way for Acts of Infamy. The World Domination screen is a roughly sectioned map of the world that serves as a stage for your evil empire's dastardly deeds. Here you'll be able to steal money, carry out missions, and search for new beneficial opportunities through plotting. Depending on varying criteria, you send out different group compositions of your minions and henchmen to complete these aforementioned tasks. The main thing that populates the World Domination screen is found in the form of small lit-up lights called Acts of Infamy. These littered specks of light are unlocked through either progressing in the game or having your minions plot in specific parts of the world. Acts of Infamy are usually either notoriety increasing missions or loot heists that secure you various physical items to decorate your lair with. The lore of the missions tends to lean heavily into the zany, as do the loot rewards to a lesser extent, with outlandish premises and plots a hallmark element for the game itself. The game progresses through these missions and their attached notoriety meter, with bigger and better unlocks awaiting you, but be warned, as so much criminal activity is bound to draw the ire of the forces of justice. An increasing notoriety equals bigger heat being put on your organization and its activities, meaning a bigger response will be elicited by your ever-brazen moves. This response comes in the form of various agents, each with a different origin, country, and role. Separation of these enemy units begins with identifying their roles. An agent only has one generic role and purpose when they appear on the World Domination map, and that is to kill or disrupt your activities in any given region, casting large debuffs on Acts of Infamy, stealing, and plotting. This system is simple enough, but becomes more nuanced when we take a look at the types of agents who can be deployed to your island. There exist 5 different possible roles for deployed enemy units, with those being the investigators/agents, the thieves and the burglars, the saboteurs and the infiltrators, the soldiers and the veterans, and eventually, the unique and troublesome super agents. Most of these roles are self-explanatory, but a quick overview will be provided regardless. The investigators, also referred to as agents, come to the island seeking items of heat, something they can document and extract with to establish cause for sending in harder hitting units down the line. The thieves and the burglars are most likely obvious to you in function, with them being sent to retrieve stolen goods you had previously acquired from them on a permanent loan. They will attempt to extract with your goods, which can lower your notoriety if they are successful in doing so. The saboteurs and infiltrators are sent on what are essentially search and destroy missions. They aim to bypass your security countermeasures and strike directly at your lair's vital points, making quick work out of any minions caught off guard along the way. Mild caution is advised when dealing with these units. The soldiers and veterans are similar in function to the saboteurs and infiltrators, except they aren't patient enough to sneak into the base before properly going off. These units will harbor great hate towards you, your minions, and your property, so make sure to be packing more guns than them. Moving on from these units, before some unresolved issues are brought up. Now, super agents. Well, they can be a bit of a pain. Coming from each part of the in-game world, super agents are unique characters that pose a serious threat to you and your business. Without spoiling too much, each government faction has one super agent to their name, with their own specialty and accompanying backstory. These paragons of justice don't play by the same rules as the other agents, as you can't outright kill them without a specific procedure, but they can permanently kill your henchmen if they manage to drop them 3 times. This is in addition to the fact they are normal agents on steroids, well, at least strength-wise. These figures only appear after certain notoriety thresholds are passed, so you won't need to stress about them at first, but do keep their inevitable arrival in mind. The agents can only be temporarily downed or distracted at first, so sometimes using misdirection until they decide to leave the island is favored over brute strength. However you choose to deal with them, stay real cautious. Part of dealing with all these threats is the bolstering of your forces from a small initial contingent of basic minions into a formidable staff structure of relatively diverse units. The World Domination screen brings to you an Act of Infamy category that will aid you in just that, as it will progressively offer you more and more opportunities to make off with different specially trained individuals who can be brought back to your island and harvested for their expertise. Quite literally. The construction of an armory in your base will grant you cells for keeping these illegally acquired individuals contained, at least until you choose one of the various ways to interrogate them. At which point, a minion will squeeze them for knowledge at the designated interrogation station, utilizing the dark arts to literally transform themselves into the manifestation of the captive's profession, a process which also coincidentally is quite physically taxing on the prisoner. Once a minion is converted into a new higher level role, he can begin to train other lower level minions in the art of his profession through the training room. An overview of the whole minion staff is provided in-game, with every separate role having a designated space and population counter, helping you keep track of human logistics through an interactable UI. The base minion type is illustrated as having 3 possible branching paths: the path to the security staff tree, the path to the scientific sector staff, and the path to social minion progression. All 3 of these generalized occupation groups serve an express purpose in the organization system, with the security branch being responsible for base security, as well as other militarized unit functions. The scientific jobs focus on later game research mechanics, but also serve as maintenance crews from the game's get-go. Lastly, the social minions aim to keep the base's busy work at bay while also juggling responsibilities related to other minions' physical and mental well-being, taking care of any exhausted or downed units. All minion upgrades see them getting more specialized as they move up, regardless of their particular job sector. Just as an example, and without spoiling too much, there is a melee-focused martial arts minion later on. These dedicated and somewhat loyal minions are your key to persevering towards world domination. The game might try to tear down all you have built, but these men won't let that happen as long as they're still breathing, or loyal. Fighting tooth and nail to see your objectives through, even if it means their death. They are your organization's backbone. They are your organization. The tools for world conquest are now in your hands, so go forth with vigor and apply what you've learned. Fall not to the opposition, and instead raise your empire to the stars. Well, I mean, you might as well. The game's like $10 Steam and $13 on GOG. I think it's worth it. I enjoy it. The game is known for having its fair share of bugs, game breaking and not, so a couple of unofficial patches are available for that online. They seem relatively popular, but I've personally never used them, so I can't directly recommend or suggest them. And so with that, do it at your own risk, and your mileage may vary depending on your computer version, your specs, and just compatibility. Also, if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know if you want to see any more videos in this style. These sort of spotlight primer overview type videos on, different types of games that I've played over the years or I really enjoy or I find myself coming back to time and time again. Remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for all the support. You do have yourself a good day. I'm definitely going to do more of these types of videos,